Good evening, welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai. Now, today we talk about trade between Zambia and Kenya and the discussions that has been going on between the two heads of state, and also in business, young and industrious. We're telling you a little bit more about children using the internet in a safer way. And in sports, we do have all the highlights for you coming up shortly. But first, let's have the highlights of the day. Day of the African Child. Kenya marks International Day with calls for protection of children against predators. Worrying trend. COVID infection rates now jump to double digits. Campaign trail. Parties crisscross the country in search of votes. In business, Kenya and Zambia commit to improve trade ties. Police in Kilimani have launched a manhunt for armed robbers who are said to be targeting M-Pesa shops in Nairobi. In the latest incident that happened at Adam's Arcade Market, a gunman is seen attempting to rob an M-Pesa shop before a confrontation ensued, leading to a fatal shooting of the attendant. In the same incident, another agent was shot as he attempted to rescue his colleague. Trevor Ngendo reports.
Sophia Gadoni is captured in this CCTV footage preparing to close her M-Pesa shop on Saturday, a few minutes past 7 p.m. when a man approaches posing as a customer. Unbeknownst to her, the man accosts and points a pistol before shooting. His accomplice enters the shop and tries to forcefully gain access when a confrontation ensues as Gadoni fights him off. The other robber shoots her multiple times before fleeing. In the same incident, Paul Githinji, an agent from the next shop, was shot as he came to the rescue of Gadoni. The two were rushed to the hospital where they succumbed to their injuries. The Directorate of Criminal Investigations has released another video showing a robber believed to be part of the syndicate targeting M-Pesa shops and called on members of the public to help in identifying him so as to deliver justice to the victims. Trevor Ngendo, Prime Edition.
Kenya and Zambia have agreed to work together towards removing barriers that hinder trade and investment between the people of the two countries. President Kenyatta said his discussions with the visiting Zambian president focused on opportunities to harness the strong bonds of friendship as well as the business and economic ties, including the removal of obstacles to trade.
Tariff and non-tariff barriers between African countries are stifling the movement of goods to the extent that countries find it easier to buy African products through Europe. President Kenyatta pointed out that he had agreed with the Zambian head of state that the ministers responsible for trade of both countries will work together to expeditiously address the outstanding tariff and non-tariff barriers to trade.
And in this context, like I've just said, we have agreed to address ourselves to the prevailing bottlenecks, including addressing ourselves to a few tariff and non-tariff barriers that bar our people from enjoying the freedom of trade amongst themselves.
Noting that Kenya and Zambia were amongst the first two countries to sign and ratify the African Continental Free Trade Area, President Kenyatta affirmed Kenya's commitment to working with Zambia and other African countries in improving the ease of doing business. He encouraged Zambian investors to not only make Kenya their investment destination of choice, but also to look to their Kenyan counterparts as their investment partners of choice.
This visit is nothing more than a visit to reinforce to enhance the cooperation between our two countries as we seek to deepen that partnership for the mutual benefit of our respective people.
On his part, President Hichilema concurred on the need for the two nations to work together in eradicating obstacles to trade and investment between the two countries.
So we agreed with my brother that we'll advance this discussion to our regional discussion tables, AU tables, so we then can walk to our colleagues in Europe, China, America, elsewhere, holding hands, and we'll be able to negotiate better and more beneficial transactions for all our countries. And this will benefit our people, jobs, business opportunities.
Trade between Zambia and Kenya last year amounted to $39.16 million through products such as sugar, edible oils, textiles, toiletries, detergents, and crafts. Nduta Mokami for Prime Edition.
And now to politics, where Deputy President William Ruto Thursday led the Kenya Kwanza in a series of campaigns in Nyamai County. The DP exuded confidence that his party's Nairobi gubernatorial hopeful Johnson Sakaja would be in the ballot. Sakaja is battling claims over the authenticity of his degree academic certificates.
The Kenya Kwanza team on Thursday took their campaigns to Manga and Nyakoria in Nyamai County, where they held several public rallies. Ruto using the meetings to defend embattled Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja over his academic credentials.
The people of Kenya are going to decide on their leaders. We want the IEBC left to manage the elections.
The DP promising that his administration, if elected, will fix the economic hardships the country is currently witnessing.
Tubadilishe, tuanze na chini. Tuanze na huku chini. Ndio tupange ajira hawa vijana kwanza. Hapa chini. Ndio tupange biashara yenu. Hii ndogo ndogo. Hapa chini. Na tupange mambo ya chakula. Tuondoe njaa. Hapa chini. Ndio tupande na kila mtu.
As the DP was traversing Nyamira, his running mate Rigathi Gachagua was in Kiambu calling on locals to seize the moment and turn up in large numbers on the August 9th to assure a resounding victory for Kenya Kwanza.
Kiingia within the first 100 days, tuwatengenezea mshahara na marupurupu hata hao waangalie mambo yao. Na hao polisi tumekaa chini na hawa na tumetengeneza mkataba na hawa. Tukiwaongeza mshahara tuwalipe vizuri na hao wakuwe waangwana. Hii maneno ya kuchukua kitu kidogo wachane na hiyo maneno, wakule ile mshahara tumewapatia. Mtapigia Ruto na Gachagua ili waweze wakabadilisha uchumi wetu. Ile maisha yenye
He's elected president.
Raila alipatiwa kazi ya mabarabara. Wakati huo nilikuwa waziri wa maji, naye Kiraito akiwa kwa justice. Barabara sito siabana gangu eletwe nembea. Ziko na potholes kila mahali. Na zingine zilikuwa mbaya hata kushinda hivyo. Zilifanyiwa ukarabati na barabara mpya zikaanza.
Karua has also warned the electorate to be wary of the caliber of leaders they elect in the other 5 elective seats in the election, as they would be a key cog in the development of counties.
Watu wengi hawaulizi hapa chini, wanauliza tu ukichagua rais peke yake utajikosea. Chagua hawa wengine alafu fikiria rais.
Mother Karua is a person who has come at the right time. Mother Karua is a person in the right time at the right place. Na huyu ndio anakuja kuokoa Kenya.
Tomorrow, the Azimio caravan led by its presidential candidate Raila Odinga will head to Murang'a County. John Jacob Kuria, Prime Edition.
Interior and Coordination of National Government Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i says his ministry will support the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission in the forthcoming general elections to enable it conduct free, fair and credible elections. The CS was speaking during the 18th Ambassadors and High Commissioners Forum held at Windsor Golf and Country Club.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i, who graced the 18th Ambassadors and High Commissioners Forum, cited voter bribery and abuse of social media as key challenges the government is addressing ahead of the August elections.
Quest or whatever we have been told to do in terms of security deployment, I have confirmed to them, as I have done to the country before, that we have sufficient resources in terms of personnel. We have created an integrated framework where we're working across on a multi-agency framework with other agencies to support the IBC to deliver on the elections.
He asked the envoys to assure the international community of a conducive business environment during and after the national polls. Elsewhere, Westlands MP Tim Wanyonyi has asked IBC to ensure registration of all eligible voters, even those in remote areas with poor network connectivity.
We don't want to hear, they have been planning for 5 years. We don't want to hear now that there are some people in Kenya who may not vote because there's no communication in that area.
He was speaking during a meeting with a group of women as he intensified his campaigns for a Raila Odinga-led team. Meanwhile, Gusii Nairobi business community has asked Azimio la Umoja wa Kenya Coalition Party presidential candidate Raila Odinga to endorse engineer John Ochoti for the Nairobi County senatorial seat. Ochoti is eyeing the seat under KANU party and will battle it out with ODM's Edwin Sifuna.
Tungependa kumuuliza His Excellency the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga ya kwamba Baba, tunakuomba uweze kurecall ama uweze kuangalia mahitaji yetu kama jamii ya Umugusi katika kiti cha useneta wa Nairobi.
And supporters of independent Nairobi gubernatorial candidate Agnes Kagure intensified their campaigns in Nairobi ahead of the August 9th showdown.
Zile counties ambazo ziko na wanawake kama governors ni counties 3 peke yake. Katiba ya Kenya inasema ya kwamba lazima tukue na a third gender. Tunasema ya kwamba county ya Nairobi sasa hivi iko na governor ambaye ni mwanamke. Tunataka governor wa Nairobi abaki kuwa mwanamke.
Frederick Mwoki for Prime Edition.
The Ministry of Health has raised concern over the low number of young people vaccinated against COVID-19. Health Principal Secretary Susan Mochache said that out of over 18 million vaccine doses administered so far, only 1.4 million accounted for those aged between 15 and 17 years. This coming as the COVID-19 positivity rate rose to 12.9% today.
Health Principal Secretary Susan Mochache was at the Kenya Medical Training College in Nairobi to launch the amplified COVID-19 vaccination campaign. The campaign will entail the use of all the 71 KMTC campuses across the country as COVID-19 vaccination centers. The health PS raising concern over the low vaccine uptake among the young population aged between 15 and 17 years. According to the statistics from the ministry, out of the 18.5 million COVID-19 vaccines administered, those in this age group accounted for only 1.4 million.
Our statistics show us that young adults have not yet embraced the vaccination uptake campaign, even when there is evidence that so many of them actually contract the virus. And the situation is even worse on the youth who are expected to or are about to join universities and colleges.
The PS noting that Kenya was still lagging behind in vaccination as it had failed to achieve the 70% target set by the World Health Organization, with only 31.4% of the adult population being fully vaccinated.
A recent report by the WHO estimates that by May of this year, 1 billion people in lower income countries remain unvaccinated, and only 57 countries vaccinated up to 70% of their population.
The government is targeting to vaccinate over 27 million of the Kenyan population, with calls for the uptake of the booster shot.
People who are immunocompromised, people who have got underlying conditions certainly need a third dose. And also noting that over time, the immunity, even for a healthy person who has been vaccinated, begins to go down, necessitating the need for a booster shot for an increased immune response.
These come in as the COVID-19 positivity rate rose to 12.9% after 427 new cases were reported out of the 3,307 samples tested. No fatalities were reported, with the cumulative fatalities standing at 5,651. 47 patients are admitted in hospital, with 4 of them being in the intensive care unit. Another 3,065 are under the home-based care and isolation program. Nancy Okwari, Prime Edition.
Kenya today joined the rest of the continent in marking the Day of the African Child, with calls for concerted efforts to stem harmful practices that threaten the future of the African child. Stakeholders regretted the vices such as sexual harassment, child marriage, sex trafficking, and female genital mutilation have continued to assail the African child.
On the 16th of June each year, African countries commemorate the Day of the African Child, rededicating themselves to ensuring a continent fit for children. This year's theme is eliminating harmful practices that affect children. In Nairobi County, the occasion was marked at Shauri Moyo Ground, where a child, Evan Sotieno, called for a comprehensive approach to address challenges children face both in and out of school.
The environment is where matters, because if the child was using drugs and then you take him to the rehabilitation center and then he comes back, he'll still use the drugs because the environment is just not good for him, because all of them are using drugs.
Nairobi County Director of Children Hoid Isadia decried the increasing cases of defilement.
In Nairobi, as an area, as a county, what we've discovered is that issues of defilement are so rampant, and issues of general sexual abuse.
In Kisumu, the Deputy County Commissioner Kisumu Central Alanson Hussein warned against employment of children.
Any person found to have employed a child below the age of 18 will be arrested, and any person, any parent, any person found to do any harmful practice to children will also be in conflict with the law.
Kisumu County Director of Children Alfred Wadeo attributed the difficult situation children find themselves into poverty.
Able to take care of them, and then they start or they get involved in prostitution. Along the flyover in Kondele, reports are indicating that sometimes in the evening children are found in those places.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation Nosim FM, which broadcast in Maasai language, celebrated the Day of the African Child with the pupils of Suswa Primary School in Narok County by offering them goodies. Emily Gwoda, a police constable and advocate of children's rights in Narok, called for a collaborative approach to end retrogressive practices that harm children, even as the country strives to eliminate FGM by the end of the year.
Also, we encourage so many NGOs to come in and assist by educating
Also, by facilitating, especially today, I feel happy. It has been a success.
Child protection risks may include physical and emotional maltreatment, sexual exploitation, including incest and defilement. As a society, we need to save our children from these risks. And as quoted by Nelson Mandela, that our children are our greatest treasure. They are our future. Those who abuse them tear the fabric of our society and weaken our nation. Reporting from YMCA Shauri Moyo for Prime Edition, I'm Pauline Nasimiu.
Let's take a short break, but when we come back, young and industrious, and we'll be telling you about Dr. Kimani, who has made it on the Forbes Under 30 Top 30 list.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
Welcome back. Restrictive laws and policies in Africa's construction sector are impeding engineers from offering their services across borders. The Engineering Board of Kenya is pushing for mutual recognition agreements amongst African countries in order to facilitate partner trading services in the profession.
The second day of the Engineering Partnership Symposium in Mombasa sought to explore opportunities and partnerships that can propel the construction industry. Key players decried restrictive rules in African countries that are hindering growth of the profession.
The threshold has been always very high, and I think that has always been the crying call from our engineers in this country. If that can be looked at, then we should be able to move forward as a country.
The Engineering Board of Kenya is pushing for mutual recognition agreements that could harmonize the working environment both regionally and abroad.
We are racing to see how we can harmonize further so that when you pay in this country, then you don't have to pay elsewhere. Our governments will have to assist us here because the registrations will have to be amended to accommodate this. But most importantly, we must advise them as the professionals of what we think will work best for us.
EBK Chair Erastus Mwongera maintains mergers and joint ventures could increase the likelihood of Kenyan professionals securing businesses.
If I have a consulting firm as an individual, it is not enough. We team up together, form a good consortium, so that when we tender for a project in our country, first of all, we are sure of winning it. If we go to another jurisdiction, our neighbors here, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, we have also got a chance.
Mwongera says the board will further explore the possibility of joining and ratifying the Washington Accord that engineers say will help create mobility and international recognition for Kenyan engineers. The engineers are also lobbying the government to set aside 0.5% of the infrastructure budget for the training of local engineers. The Engineers Board is in the process of harmonizing licensing fees for engineers to make them conform to international standards. Junikari Sambele from Mombasa County.
You can now have your payment to online merchants delayed while doing online transactions until you confirm arrival of your goods. With the increase of online fraudsters, innovators have found a way of bringing back trust in e-commerce through confirmation-based electronic protocols. Our reporter Alan Oko looks at how a student-led startup uses such protocols to safeguard client funds.
According to a Gartner report, e-commerce is already a 4.1 trillion shillings market with the potential to reach 15 trillion shillings by 2025 in emerging markets like Kenya. Locally, e-commerce represents 60% of digital commerce, with 8 out of 10 consumers exposed to online shopping exclusively via e-commerce. This means that an increasing number of SMEs are seeking tech-based solutions for activities like payments.
85% of merchants in Africa rely on social media to make sales of their products. And notice that as a result, sales are narrowing down because of lack of trust between buyers and sellers in these platforms.
Meet Alvin Munyao, an innovator who believes Kenya still has the greatest potential for innovation due to its outpouring demand.
The potential is really huge because social commerce is valued at $30 billion US. So we want really to help scale social commerce in Africa, which is a really ignored market, considering that these markets are really efficient.
Munyao says his innovation will go a long way in bringing back trust in e-commerce at a time when fraudulent traders hoodwink unsuspecting Kenyans into purchasing ghost products online.
Let's say you want to order something, a sneaker on Instagram. That person will deliver it the same time, same day. So we really want to boost also efficiency of commerce in Africa. So that's where we decided to come up with this solution as well, to boost SME growth also in Africa.
Students like Munyao have benefited from incubation and support from institutions like the Management University of Africa.
Education is very expensive. A lot of people would like to go through the education until they achieve their objective, and that the right knowledge to enable them, live comfortably, come up with, either self-employment or be employed somewhere, but they're not able to because of lack of finances.
However, there is still need to expand the pool of innovative and knowledgeable talent.
Education is very expensive. A lot of people would like to go through the education until they achieve their objective, and that the right knowledge to enable them, live comfortably, come up with, either self-employment or be employed somewhere, but they're not able to because of lack of finances.
Kenya is increasingly emerging as a place of technological excellence, and its students are coming up to fill the gap that has been created by a myriad of problems that they find they can solve using technology. Alan Aoko, Tech One.
A 27-year-old student at Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology has made it to the top 30 under 30 Forbes Africa list of brightest achievers. Dr. Joanne Ruguru Kimani has propelled to the Hall of Fame thanks to her contribution towards crucial information on children and parenting on the digital space. How does she do this? Well, Yusuf Farah met with Dr. Ruguru at the JKUAT and filled the following report for this week's edition of Young and Industrious.
Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology in Juja, Kiambu County. We link up with Dr. Joanne Ruguru Kimani, a student pursuing Bachelor of Medicine in Surgery. Apart from her studies here, Dr. Ruguru has a keen interest in global health policy making in regards to children's health.
I had gone swimming with my siblings and I saw a mother beat up her child ruthlessly because she poured soda on the floor. I'm the firstborn of 6 children, and so I've seen how my parents have brought me up very well, a strong Christian background, and I felt like maybe if I wrote about it, a parent like that would get help.
This passion will lead to the birth of Exciting Parenting in the year 2016, a webpage dedicated to information on children and parenting. Her contribution towards child health and parenting catapulted her to bagging the 2020 winner of the top 35 under 35 Youth of the Year award.
That's when I actually felt like I was making some impact in health, and that really catapulted me to keep going.
Exciting Parenting touches on diverse issues on children's health that Dr. Ruguru attributes to well-researched information during her pediatric classes and experience parents have gone through in raising their little ones.
I found it important to borrow my lessons from the clinical rotations to be able to sensitize parents on how to bring up their children well in regards to health. I borrowed a few things, a few lessons, and then I broke them down in a way that the common Mwananchi is going to understand and learn, because medical jargon can be something else.
Her blog grew to reaching audiences across 10 countries globally. Her outstanding working contribution played a key role in her name making it to the Forbes Africa 30 Under 30 Class of 2022 Achievers list. She received this news while at home and couldn't hide her joy.
I first of all told my family, then told my mentors, told my friends, and then waited for when I could officially announce the story on social media. So you get onto social media, people are congratulating you, your pictures are all over. So with time, that's when I understood that life has changed.
The university's Vice-Chancellor Professor Victoria Wambui Ngumi congratulated Dr. Ruguru, saying the institution received the news with delight and elation, even as she said JKUAT continues to provide conducive avenues for their students to learn and follow their passion.
We encourage them to do research in areas which they are interested in. Our professors are ready to work with them to develop those ideas. We do show off our alumni, and especially those who do so well, like Joanne.
Dr. Ruguru has had mentors that have been instrumental in her growth, and through the interactions they've had with her platform, they're able to learn and see her growth.
And when you look at the issues she's talking of, or the issues she's discussing in her blog, things which we would commonly struggle with. She's able to attract traffic, and she's able to explain things in a language that is understandable to most people.
I've been doing a couple of jobs here and there. I've had a couple of internships in organizations in the medical field. And what I can say, I got those opportunities because I had a blog.
Ruguru is set to graduate with the class of June 2022, and with the accolades he has already received thanks to her work in the field of children's health, she is hopeful of an even brighter future in her field and passion.
I'm also looking to getting into conferences and also learning platforms with other bloggers in different niches, and to also learn about what they're doing.
For the young girls in secondary schools, the young girl in primary schools, they too can watch her and see that the sky is the limit.
Dr. Ruguru hopes to hold a position at the World Health Organization in the future, even as she looks forward to helping the children on a global level. Yusufar reporting for Young and Industrious from the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, Kiambu County.
Kupata police sherehe kama sikiza tune kwenye simu yako, bonyeza *811 758 hash.
Wewe Raya, kwa nini unapigia mtu wakati ya sherehe? It's either two things. Ego emergency ama unamuitia sherehe. Usikuwa unasumbua raia mwingine wakati wa sherehe pana. Wacha watu wagule na wa drive safe. Pia mimi niguche kama ni sherehe. Niguche? Nagucha. Wacha achukue simu pasi. Wewe nani? Wacha uchukue simu ya sherehe bwana.
Kupata police sherehe, bonyeza *811 758 hash. *811 758 hash.
Our arts and entertainment industry has evolved over the years.
It is at such times that our destinies are written. Will we rise up in courage or die in cowardice?
Who are the movers and shakers in film and theatre? Get trendy as we review locally produced films and stage drama every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on Cinemas and Theatre.
Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa.
Welcome back. Now, Kenyans in diaspora are opting to remit money through informal means due to the high cash transfer costs. European Union Deputy Head Katrin Hegman says despite a 20.4% increase in diaspora remittances, major gaps in cash transfer are dragging the contribution to the economy.
Kenya accounts for $3.7 billion of the $49 billion remitted to the sub-Saharan African region from diaspora, ranking it the third within the region. Despite Kenya's advancement in the digital money market and financial service sector, the sending charge stands at 7.8% in comparison to the global rate of 6%. The European Union is recommending a policy shift that will see to the revision of said rates owing to the immense growth potential of the sector.
Based on the lessons from the COVID-19 crisis, there's a unique opportunity to draw a new consensus on remittance actions to address the long-standing issue in complex environments.
Promote faster, safer, and cheaper transfer of remittances and foster financial inclusion of migrants. So that's written into the fabric of the Global Compact.
EU Deputy Head Katrin Hegman says Kenya's remittances has grown tenfold in the last 15 years. However, the country might still not benefit much from this stream due to poor policing of cash transfer services. She notes that private sector involvement would aid in the use of informal money transfer methods by those living or working in the diaspora.
The day calls upon communities, it calls upon governments, private sector entities, as well as civil society to find ways to maximize the impact of remittances through individual and or collective action.
There are lots of other channels that we have not necessarily looked at that will move money away from the informal way and to the formal way, but also more importantly reduce the cost so that people don't feel the need to go through informal means to send money, because there are a lot of risks with sending money informally.
They say that migrant remittance is crucial in maintaining households in Kenya, and the promotion of regulated digital channels may be a means to fully get the scope of the actual remittance statistics in the country.
Send money through formalized channels, because when they send back money through formalized channels, then we have a proper scope in terms of what this money is for and what it is used for.
Despite the 3% contribution to the Kenyan economy and the growth in the digital financial sector, there are still a lot of challenges in the Kenyan remittance sector. Hibak Said for Prime Edition from Gigiri, Nairobi County.
Timlich Ohinga Heritage Site in Migori County serves as a meeting venue for the community and remains a location for community rituals, in particular in times of crisis. Tonight on Magical Scenes, Irene Muchuma Odim highlights the 16th century historic UNESCO World Heritage Center.
The Timlich Ohinga settlement served as a fort for communities besides defining social entities and relationships linked to lineage. Timlich Ohinga is said to be among the largest and one of the best preserved traditional enclosures in Migori County. The site is an exceptional example of the traditional of massive dry stone walled enclosures typical of the first pastoral communities in the Lake Victoria Basin, which persisted from the 16th to the mid-20th century. This UNESCO World Heritage Site has its walls erected by neatly arranged stones of various sizes, ranging from 1.5 meters to 4.5 meters in height and an average thickness of 1 meter. The structure documents the successive occupation by people from different origins during the migration and settlement in the Lake Victoria Basin between the 16th and the 17th centuries.
After the archaeologists have done their research work, after they have collected them, they do label them that such artifacts were collected from Thimli Chahinga. Then they take them further to the lab for more verification. They may take them to Kisumu, Nairobi. Then after that, they bring them back to Kisumu Museum. It's where you can find some artifacts, but they are labeled collected from Thimli Chahinga.
We are receiving so many guests from outside, especially from UK, America, when they are flying all the way from Nairobi, landing through our airport, which is being opened very soon. And the occupancy has gone high. As from we are being operating occupancy of 30%, and so we are talking from now, it has gone up to 70%.
The magical formation gives reference to livestock cultivation and craft practices prevalent in communal settlements at this time. Irene Mchuma Udim, Magical Sense in the county of Migori.
Conservationists in Laikipia have begun the mechanical removal of an invasive Opunia cactus, which has occupied about 80% of grazing land for livestock and wildlife. Known to some farmers as the devil's cactus, the invasive plant, which depletes soil fertility and water resources and reduces the diversity of plants and animals, has invaded more than 500 square kilometers in the county.
Opuntia, commonly called prickly pear, is one of the most widespread and naturalized plants in the arid and semi-arid areas of Kenya, with extreme effects on rural livelihoods and the environment. Prickly pear was first introduced to Laikipia in the 1970s as an ornamental living wall during the colonial era. Unknown to the residents then, Opuntia cactus is a fast-growing cactus that has occupied the land and is poisonous to animals.
A lot of the invasive plant species, especially of the Opuntia family, were brought in as ornamental plants. Actually, if you go to Doldol, as far back as 1946, the Opuntia stricta was planted by the district officer around there as a hedge plant around the house.
According to the Center for Agriculture and Bioscience International, the plant, known by some farmers as the devil's cactus, has been linked to livestock deaths, reduced forage, interference with grazing practices, increased cost of management, and reduced livestock yields.
It simply means that the herbivores, that is wildlife and cattle, don't have grazing material to survive. It also means that the invasive species, being morphological, it has a lot of spines, and that pricks or it injures the wildlife and the cattle that come across those areas.
Conservationists and farmers in the affected areas have opted for mechanical removal of the invasive Opuntia cactus, whose seeds are spread by birds and animals such as elephants and baboons. The removal involves digging out the cactus completely, allowing it to decompose, then burying it in deep pits in order to completely kill the plant.
To ensure that there is little entry of air, and slowly and naturally that cactus rots, and that area is ridden off the Opuntia engelomani. The second strategy is use of biological control.
Conservationists and farmers believe that this will stem the spread of the invasive plant that for years has posed a threat to their livelihoods.
The government will step up efforts to make Kenya a competitive destination for meetings, incentives, convention, and exhibition. Labour Chief Administrative Secretary Jackson Kala says hoteliers across the country have experienced a strong performance of the MICE segment amid a slump in international tourist arrivals since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The tourism sector continues on the recovery path, supported by domestic tourists after COVID-19 disruption in the past 2 years. The government says currently the tourism industry is operating at 75% capacity, with the majority of staff rehired. Tourism industry players are urging the government to revise bilateral agreements relating to direct flights to Mombasa and Kisumu to stimulate tourism activities.
So we are calling on government to relook at that transport policy and allow more of this aircraft to land directly here. And as industry, the proposals we have given protect the national carrier.
According to Kala, the industry has been mainly supported by conference tourism.
One of the most important factors for a MICE hotel to operate successfully is the accessibility. We are positioning this hotel as a premium MICE destination, as a premium MICE facility, which means that the requirement for rooms will be definitely there.
Globally, the MICE market is about 71.5 trillion shillings, with Africa accounting for just 3%. Reporting for Prime Edition, I am Teresa Mutai.
Trade Cabinet Secretary Betty Maina is calling for the removal of agricultural and fishery subsidies imposed by developed nations, saying they are distorting trade and negatively affecting the competitiveness of African products in the global market. Speaking at the World Trade Organization's 12th Ministerial Conference in Geneva, she said agricultural subsidies should be addressed to create a fair playing ground for all countries.
Ministers from more than 100 countries have been holding talks at the Global Trade Watchdog's headquarters in Geneva this week for the first time in more than 4 years. The WTO members have been negotiating and discussing multiple subjects, including response to the pandemic, a waiver on intellectual property rights for COVID vaccines and other products, fishery subsidies, food security, agriculture, e-commerce and WTO reforms.
The greatest lesson learned has been the susceptibility of the global supply chains to disruptions and the unpreparedness of WTO members to mitigate these disruptions.
With only a few hours left for the closing ceremony, negotiators are still trying to reach a consensus on food security, fishing and vaccines. While addressing ministers at the 12th WTO Ministerial Conference, Trade Cabinet Secretary Betty Maina also pushed for the removal of agricultural and fishery subsidies as they are distorting trade and negatively affecting the competitiveness of African products in the global market.
Agricultural subsidies must be addressed to discipline them to create a fair playground for all. With regard to the fishery subsidies, Kenya anticipates that the conference will send an unequivocal message on the mutual supportiveness of trade and environment by reaching a meaningful agreement that will also reflect a commitment of the SDG 14.6.
Betty says WTO reforms are pertinent in order to align the organization with the prevailing global economic situation and ensure it addresses the policy and systemic concerns that members of the developing countries have with the multilateral trading systems.
We therefore look forward to a high-level political commitment by this conference, which will define the path towards comprehensive WTO reforms.
The long-standing debate on the role of WTO in responding to the pandemic, particularly in increasing production, promoting availability, and equitable access to essential goods and services required in the fight against COVID-19. Caroline Jenga for Primetime Edition.
Google has announced 1,000 scholarships for small and medium-sized businesses in Kenya. The training will help SMEs open online shops in order to market their products and services. Under the training, entrepreneurs would be equipped with digital marketing skills to boost their ventures. Google Director for Kenya and East Africa, Agnes Gadhaya, has said the e-commerce market in Kenya has grown by 40% in 2021, with the potential to expand further.
Kenya's micro, small and medium enterprises contribute approximately 40% of the country's wealth, with the majority falling in the informal sector. The sector accounts for 80% of all jobs in the country, making them a critical cog in Kenya's business scene. However, most SMEs are yet to embrace online trading, which is growing by leaps and bounds globally. To help upskill their online trading skills, Google has launched a training program targeting 1,000 SMEs in the country. The initiatives include a 1-hour virtual training event dubbed Shopping Small Business Summit, aimed at helping SMB owners develop skills and tools to compete online. Agnes Gadhaya, Google's country director for Kenya and East Africa, stated that the company's collaboration with Coursera, an open online course provider, will result in the development of an online career certificate course in digital marketing and e-commerce. The training will help business owners learn how to harness online tools meant to spur growth for them. The tech firm also unveiled a Local Opportunity Finder, a new tool that evaluates different Google business profiles and gives recommendations on how a business owner may improve their profile appearances in the Google search. Furthermore, Hustle Academy, another platform that provides key skills for growth to small and medium-sized retail businesses, will be available to traders as part of their initiatives. Nduta Mokami for Prime Edition.
Every day, over 15 million members are transforming Africa. Empowered to learn, to create, to grow, to harvest, to lead, to dream. Equity. Karibu member.
Time for sports. Well, Issa's Amwari's participation in this year's WRC Safari Rally Championship got a boost after receiving sponsorship from betting firm Mozart. The Mitsubishi Evo X driver will be among 34 drivers who have enlisted to participate in the rally scheduled 23rd to 26th June in Naivasha.
Issa Amwari did not feature in last year's Safari Rally after his car came short on FIS specifications, largely due to financial constraints. Not this time around after he inked a sponsorship deal with Mozartbet that will enable him participate in the 6th round of the WRC circuit.
Actually, we have rebuilt everything thanks to Mozart. We have rebuilt everything. We have put in new parts thanks to Mozart, because they came to play a big part for us this time, and we are really looking forward to it.
I support him because if you look at the previous national championships rounds, maybe about 2 or 3 rounds he has not been able to participate, and this is because of the expenses that come with it. So for this one we decided to cater for all his budgetary allocation in terms of spare parts, fuel, and all that it takes in line with the regulations from FIA.
Karan, who emerged 8th overall last year, will compete in his Ford Fiesta R5 with his long-term co-driver Tosif Khan. Karan has had a good stretch this year, winning the ARC Quetta Rally in May.
With more experienced now drivers who have already done one safari, I'm sure that we can't expect a lot of dropouts, the DNFs. So I'd be ecstatic if we finish top 10. But I think top 15 would also be good for a WRC2 car.
A total of 15 Kenyan drivers will take part in the race that has attracted, among others, last year's winner Francis Sebastian Ogier and series leader Finnish Kaliro Van Pera. The event will consist a total of 363 kilometers competitive distance, with the action taking place around Lake Naivasha and Elementaita. The race will begin at Kasarani on the 23rd after being flagged off at KCC for a 4.84 kilometer super special stage before heading to Naivasha for the rest of the action.
National Rugby Sevens team coach Damian McGrath says no player is guaranteed a place in the team that will be heading to the Commonwealth Games in Buckingham. Shuja is the latest team to join the Commonwealth Games camp, with McGrath stating that it is the beginning of a new chapter for Kenya's Sevens.
Kenya National Sevens team coach Damian McGrath has insisted that he's always on the lookout for emerging talents, and no player has a guaranteed ticket to the Commonwealth Games.
Get through to the knockout phases is the first target, and once you get to that, then it's you've got a fighter's chance. And I'm not saying we're confident, but we know that we're going to give some teams a real surprise. As I said, this preparation will make us a completely different animal to the one that played over the last 2 legs.
He intends to scout more players at the driftwood in Mombasa, and any impressive performances that will be showcased will join the team.
Hard on the catch. We've worked hard on the floor work, the real basics, contact. We've even worked on how to hold the ball properly, because the best players can do those things. And so we're putting in a real base of skills so that allow us to play the type of rugby which will make us successful, but also, the Kenyan public will like to see, I hope.
With the previous unpromising performances in the past 2 tournaments, the team is training hard with the aim of collecting a medal for the first time at the Commonwealth Games.
It's been a learning process from the time we started this journey, and now we know where we had our mistakes. We are trying to rectify them and make it. We are trying to make it better going to the Commonwealth Games.
Damian added that being in the team does not guarantee a permanent position.
A total of 94 riders are set to take part in the second edition of the Gravel Migration Cycling Race, which is scheduled on 18th to 21st June in Masai Mara, Narok County. The race seeks to exploit Kenya's sports tourism, as well as offer a chance to upcoming cyclists to hone their talents.
Last year's winner, Kenya's Nancy Akinyi, will be among the 94 riders who are set to feature in the second edition of the off-road race that will consist of a total of 650 kilometers of competitive distance.
Yeah, we don't take it for granted that we have this race because we get to race with other strong ladies like them. which is not something that happens quite often. So we take it so serious, and it will be good to race with them and learn from them, and then
it will be really interesting to see what gravel means in Kenya. I think it'll be pretty rough, pretty steep, pretty hard. I'm riding a gravel bike. You know, if I thought about this a bit more, I might ride a mountain bike, but I'm just going to ride gravel and go for the adventure.
Last year was my first time. I learned many things. I met with many experienced guys. I was here for learning for sure. The why I'm missing it is to show if I'm different last year and this year, how I improve myself.
Competitors will take on a total of 128 kilometers on day one before competing in a further 172 kilometers, 129 kilometers, and 164 kilometers on second, third, and fourth days, respectively.
And the idea behind this race is part of a wider initiative to bring the best international competition here to Kenya, so that not only our athletes can access that competition and by virtue of that competition make themselves greater, but also to expose the wider world to the beauty of Kenya.
The race aims at enhancing inclusivity in cycling as well as creating opportunities for the upcoming East Africa cyclists. The race will encompass male and female categories and will end on Monday after 4 days of grueling competition covering game trails, red clay and hard gravel. Bernard Okumu, Prime Edition.
Well, that's it for today. I do have a few comments here. We have Joel Okech who says, thank you for visiting my home in Migori County. I did enjoy the story on magical scenes. And also we have Rahab from Isiolo who says, Dr. Joanne's Kimani's story that was in Young and Industrious was inspiring. Well, from me and the rest of the team, we do wish you a good night.
Every day, over 15 million members are transforming Africa.